you how to make one of my favorite salsas in the world. And when it gets warm and it gets to be summer, I love making salsas. Today we're going to make a fire roasted tomato salsa with a hint of chipotle. What we're going to need to make this delicious salsa is 2 pounds of Roma tomatoes, and you really need to make sure that they're Romas. You don't want to substitute some other kind of tomato in there because this is really a thick salsa, and the Romas have a really low water content, so they're perfect for this salsa. Okay, so we got our tomatoes. We're also going to need a bunch of cilantro, and just as much as you want here. Probably if you were to chop it up, it would be about 3/4 of a cup. But you know, if you like it with a little more cilantro taste, you can add a little more. So just kind of eyeball that. You're going to need 2 large chipotle peppers, and I just used them from the can. I've taken all the seeds out and chopped them up roughly, so they're ready to go. We're also going to need about a tablespoon of salt, a couple of teaspoons of sugar, 1 shallot, which is kind of split in here, but that's really just 1, about 7 cloves of garlic, 2 tablespoons of red wine vinegar, and just a little bit of olive oil. So the very first thing that I've done, and I've already prepared this, I've already washed and cored my Roma tomatoes, cut them in half, and I've laid them down on this foil. And what we're going to do is we're going to put this in the oven under broil, and we're going to want to blacken these tomatoes. That's really where our flavor is going to come from, is the blackened skins of these tomatoes. So we're going to go ahead and put these under the broiler. We're going to want to keep them there for several minutes until the skins turn dark and they're nice and charred. Okay, so while our tomatoes are under the broiler, we're going to go ahead and chop up our shallots, and we're going to go ahead and saute them in a little bit of olive oil. There's a lot of deep flavors in this salsa, and it's really robust and delicious. Okay, we're going to take these over to the stove, and we're just going to cook them in a little bit of olive oil until they're just lightly browned and they start to get a little bit translucent in color. Okay, so I've heated about a tablespoon of olive oil in here, and I'm just going to add my shallots and just start to lightly saute them. Now we're not going to want to cook these too long, just long enough to get them lightly browned and to give them a little bit of extra flavor. Okay, our tomatoes are getting really close to being just perfect. So for the last, we'll probably got about 5 more minutes. For the last 5 minutes, I'm going to take my cloves of garlic, and I've got about, let's see, 7 of them there. I'm just going to throw them in under the broiler because we want these to get a little bit cooked too. So we'll pull them all out at the same time and they'll all be perfect. Okay. Alright, I have pulled these out of the oven, and this is how they should look. They need to look black, and they need to have that little charred top on them. The garlic, you can see, it's not black, we just threw that at the end, but it's a little bit brown, and so it's going to be a little bit softer and have a really good roasted flavor. So let's go ahead and get all of these ingredients in the food processor. Okay, you can see there's some nice dark pieces of charred tomato in there, and those are really going to add a great flavor to this. So let's go ahead and add our garlic now. We're going to run these roasted pieces of garlic through the garlic press, just so they puree a little bit easier and smoother. Okay, all that delicious garlic off there. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and add our shallots, and you can see they're just lightly brown, just really slightly caramelized, and we're going to go ahead and add these to the mix. And our 2 chipotles. And let's go ahead and chop these up before we add the rest of the ingredients. Smells delicious. Okay, now we have our 2 teaspoons of sugar and 1 tablespoon of salt. And we've got 2 tablespoons of red wine vinegar. Okay, the last thing we need to add is our cilantro. So I'm going to actually let this cool down for a few minutes so the cilantro doesn't get cooked when you put it in the hot tomato mixture. So we'll give that about 10 minutes, then we'll go ahead and add the cilantro. Okay, this has been cooling down for about 10 minutes, so I think we're going to be okay to go ahead and get our fresh cilantro in there. So I'm just going to go ahead and tear this into some pieces here. And go ahead and get this pureed. Alright, I think it's ready. So go ahead and dump this into our bowl here. If you take a look at that, you can see we've got our little bits of charred tomato skin in there, which is going to give this such a good flavor. Then we've got the beautiful cilantro, pretty green in there, that's contrasting the red of the tomato. This is just a delicious, delicious salsa. Okay, so all you need to do now is grab a bag of chips and go ahead and dip in. Now, this is kind of warm still right now, and it's really good warm, but I think it's even a little bit better when it's chilled. So you can have it now, which I'm going to have some now because I just can't help myself. But you can also chill it, throw it in the fridge, have it a couple hours later the next day, and it's just delicious. You're going to love the salsa. You got to try it at home. Delicious.